So BABB, everyone's a bank. Will they get a banking license? Do they even need one? Can they release an app and working platform without a license? The answer's in this video with more. Stay tuned. What's happening, peeps? Welcome. I'm Scott at Love for Crypto, and in this video we're going to be talking about the BABB banking license, speculating if they're going to get it. I believe they'll get it. I know a lot of people are questioning it and questioning where they're going to go if they don't get one. Can the platform and app work without a banking license? Well, actually it can. They just want the license to be a bank. It gives them more power moving forward, more things they can do with the app, gives them more features basically. But it doesn't mean that they can't have working products and a working app and working platform and the BABB card out there without the banking license. And on the other hand, in the long run, they could end up with more than one banking license, as we'll hear from Paul later on. They're not just applying for one, they're applying in parallel for multiple jurisdictions, the UK and Europe just being two. So they're tackling the UK and Europe. We know they're in dialogue and conversing with Bahraini Central Bank. So we'll get into a little bit of the information now. What we're going to do, we're going to read through an article that Paul put out not long ago. He's basically the man behind BABB who's getting the banking license. They brought him in January to help the process. I was actually at the BABB Backs Holders party and met him. It was a good night. Yeah, we had a great night. We had a good chat. I had a good chat with Paul about the banking license and where it's going, and he seemed really confident at the time. So without further ado, we're going to get into it and show you a little bit of his article, read through it, maybe even read through it all, and we'll show you a little bit of his views and thoughts on it, because they did a live Q&A on Facebook, so we'll show snippets of that. We'll show the link to the full video will be in the description, so if you want to check it out, it's about a 30-minute Q&A with Annie Alexander and Paul. I also did an interview with Annie. Annie interviewed me the other night, so stay tuned for that popping up on the channels as well. It was a really interesting chat. So let's get into this. How to get a banking license, an update on our meeting with the PRA and FCA. As you may know, BABB is in the process of applying for a UK license to become a regulated bank. Adam and Rushda are working with me on this, and we decided to bring you a more detailed update on our application. We're making good progress towards our goal of obtaining a UK banking license, and we want to keep you fully updated, but we're aware that the financial system in the UK is a bit obscure, as is the in-depth due diligence process we're currently working through. So in this post, I want to lay out what the application process involves and what the steps are to obtain a license, so that you can better understand what stage BABB is at and what we're working on next. The process. There are two ways to become a regulated bank in the UK. You've got option A, where you develop everything you need to operate as a bank in advance and then apply for the full license. You've got option B. You get most of the requirements in place, apply for a restricted license and start operating with a small customer base, then refine your operations and have the restrictions lifted. That is what BABB are doing. BABB are doing option B. They're going to go down the road of option B. If they get any snags or any obstacles along the way, they're going to drop to option A. So we've heard that off Paul. So yeah, where they currently are is in option B. This is the graph that they're speaking about. So option B, the pre-application. The challenge sessions, the last one there, they've just passed that process. I think they've got one more meeting, and then they're in the submit application phase. It's then into assessment and authorization. Once they get authorized, that's when they're open with restrictions, as this is saying. Yeah, up in option B. So the small customer base might even just be the ICO participants. We participated in the ICO. Went to the Hodlers party, that's where I got my t-shirt. That's where I met the team. But yeah, we'll carry on. As he states here, we've decided to pursue option B, as we believe this is the best route to get licensed as soon as possible, with the understanding that we can transition to option A partway through the process if that route starts to look more promising. As I said there, if they find that option B now then doesn't suit them as good as option A, they will make the switch and go to option A. And again, remember, this is just to get the license. They don't need it to carry the app and platform forward. So where they are at the moment, in both cases, there's a lengthy pre-application phase in which the FCA and the PRA provide a huge amount of feedback and support. We've decided to take full advantage of this support to create the strongest possible application. We are currently coming to the end of this phase, yellow in the diagram, to submit the application. So they're coming to the end of that phase now. That's even slightly more along than I actually thought. By doing as much preparation as possible in this phase, we are putting the groundwork in place to make it more likely that the process will be fast and smooth once we submit our application. So what's happened so far? So far we've had 2 meetings with the PRA and the FCA, the pre-application meeting and the first 2 planned challenge sessions. For those meetings we put together a seriously hefty document which covers BABB's proposition and how we plan to put it into action. I can't remember the exact number, but I remember Paul saying to me at the party, I think it was 169 pages. So he put together this this proposal, this proposition plan that they gave to him. It was 169 pages. So for him to sit through that and then ask them back in, they must be doing something right. Yeah, no one keeps getting meetings with banks when you're applying for a license if you're not doing something right. Yeah, so that is always something to remain positive about. So during the meetings, the PRA and the FCA were keen to know, in depth, 169 pages of depth, why we want to be a bank, what the proposal is, and how we will engage with the types and volumes of customers we have planned for. The customer journeys, or what the customer journeys are, how people will use the app, card and platform, how we will provide a safe and secure service to our future customers, how we onboard customers, check that they are who they are, and check who they are and ensure that they're not performing illegal activities with the KYC and all that, strong in BABB. So I'm guessing the banks are going to be confident in that moving forward. That will not be a problem, I don't think. Digital identity is about to become a massive thing worldwide, with passports, licenses, you name it. And then the final one, how the company will work and what the structure is, but they also had to give them much more, as they say. So what happens next? So next, we will receive formal feedback from the most recent meetings in the coming weeks. As with all new applicants, we will need to provide further information on some aspects of our application and proposition. We'll need to get stuck in with ever more granular work to refine and clarify our plans and the services we will provide. Once all of this information is in place, we'll have a third meeting with the PRA and FCA to go through and discuss everything we're planning to submit for our application. We hope to have this meeting in the next couple of months, depending on when the relevant people are available. After that, we can go to the next phase and submit our application, which moves us on to the second stage of option B assessment and authorization. Take some air then. And then they really are on the road. You know, once that happens, it's full steam ahead. And like they say, even if this then doesn't seem the route they want to go down, the easiest option or the most lucrative deal, or they're hitting a few snags along the way, they just drop to option A. It would then take a bit longer, I think, but it's all about getting a license in the end. It's not about time. If you believe in their vision and the picture, then you know we've got belief they're going to get this license. Almost everyone I know involved believes it. And like I say, you don't get to a certain point with the banks if they're not at least open to give you that license. So the bigger picture, like I was saying, From submitting the application, it can take up to 12 months to obtain the full license, but we're aiming to make it in 9. To help minimise the time achieving a license, we are ensuring we get our application detail right and spending more time in the pre-application phase to refine our application. You can't fault it. It's excellent. If our application is successful, we will be authorised with restrictions, which means we will be operational with a small number of customers. This period of operating with restrictions gives us time to mobilise and firm up the remaining details of the application so that we can obtain the full licence. And here we go now. Parallel to our efforts in the UK, we are also engaging with various regulators in the EU and making progress towards obtaining a European banking licence. This will be an asset alongside a UK banking licence and give us greater flexibility post-launch as we grow and expand our customer base. Again, this shows the planning, the fact that they don't even need these licenses, but they've got the vision and the vision to look past not needing them and be like, no, we want them. Gives us more flexibility, gives us more features, gives them more credibility that the Bank of England and the FCA and PRA have actually given them a banking license and they become a fully fledged bank. It's quite impressive. Now the Q&A, they spoke about numerous things in the Q&A. The 4 regulators they're speaking to, the UK banks, European regulators. They mentioned the Bahraini Central Banks. Paul mentioned his thoughts on his personal feelings on how confident he was with getting the license. I mean, it was a 4 out of 10 before he walked in to some of the meetings, and as he come out of the meeting, it was a 7 out of 10. So that's Paul's personal confidence. But we'll let you hear what Paul's got to say now. As I said before, we'll only show you a couple of snippets of it, as it was a 30-minute video of Paul and Anna. So if you want to check that out, links in the description. If you want to watch a full video, there you go.
Okay, a very common question. What will BABB do if they don't succeed in getting a banking license?
Okay, I've got the question. There you go. The first answer to that is, we don't believe that we won't get a banking license in one of the jurisdictions we're looking for. We are quietly confident, without being overly confident, that we'll achieve a banking license. We are talking to 4 regulators at the moment. We've split the regulator discussions, one in the UK, obviously, for the Bank of England. We've got a couple in Europe. Because of Brexit and various other things we can't predict around something called passporting. And we're also looking at the Middle East as well. And Bahrain, you may have seen on our communications, we're speaking to them. So firstly, I just want to say that we're quietly confident, but it takes a lot of effort, that we will achieve a banking license in the midterm. If we don't get a banking license, there are still products. In fact, under what we're classing as either our alpha release or our MVP release, there are still products we can offer the market without a banking license. And in fact, if I look through the glass petitions over there, they're actually working exactly on those early products into market that won't be dependent on the banking license. So it'll still be a good test of the application, and it'll be an exciting product for the users.
Yeah. So this is a similar question actually. So everyone is worried about the chances and what's the conclusion based on the meetings of the chances of getting the banking license. So far, the feedback so far, how it's been.
So let me give you an update on where we are with each of the regulators at the moment. I'll concentrate on 3 at the moment. As you know, we've already had 2 meetings with the Bank of England. The first one was over a year ago. That was almost sort of just find out, so it was before I joined actually, when Rushdie went to see them, really how would they consider someone like BABB and the services that we are anticipating providing. The second meeting a couple of weeks ago was much more around the controls we're having in place, the proposition, the forecast, so-called capital ratios, etc. And although there were some questions back and we expected it, I felt that when I left the meeting, I was a lot more confident and happy than when I actually went into the meeting, and because I'm a slight pessimist at the start of things anyway. So we now know exactly the gaps that we've got, so we can easily fill. So they aren't things that are unsurmountable for them, for us, sorry. And we will then have another meeting, hopefully sort of the end of May time. It depends on availability from the PRA and FCA. And then we'll progress from there. I think, you know, we have a good chance with the Bank of England, especially under the application with restrictions license, which gives you time to embed the processes within an organisation and prove to them that we're fit for purpose. Lithuania, we're speaking to, and we are hoping to have a meeting with Lithuanian regulators. We've done all the prep work with legal teams, etc., over in that jurisdiction. We're looking at having a meeting with them, depending on their diaries, actually less than ours, at the end of April time, and that will be, again, finding out their appetite to take on board an organisation like us. They're quite forward-thinking, actually, in that jurisdiction, and what that provides us, even after Brexit, that we have the ability to carry on our operation as we envisage post-Brexit, if that impacts passporting and other sort of banking regulations and transitions. So, and the other one is the Middle East, Bahrain. I think there's been some communications already about that.
Yeah, we updated them about our meeting with EDB.
Yeah,
and so there is a follow-up question since you mentioned Bahrain. It's so they saw the article, the update that you mentioned, and are we getting banking license from or getting partnership with the Bahraini Central Bank? So what was discussed during the meeting? What was the direction?
Cool. So that leads me to where we are. So the EDB were really, really excited about working with us, actually, and we've had a couple of meetings with them, more than two, talking about how do we progress, opportunity for partnerships with Bahraini Central Bank as well. So yesterday we had a session with them to talk about dates for when we will meet the Bahraini Central Bank. They're going to set that up for us. It'll be sometime in May, we hope. Obviously, we aren't in control of some of these meetings. We have to see what their availability is. We're also looking at potential partnerships in the GCC region, and seeing what we can do to ensure that not only do we have Europe covered, but we also have the GCC region covered as well. I think it's a really exciting opportunity, actually, because they haven't got much financial infrastructure in Bahrain. They're very much branch-based at the moment. There's a huge percentage of the population that are non-domiciled, so they aren't actually native Bahrainis. So the proposition that we could offer could be really exciting for them as well. And I really do believe that the Bahraini Central Bank will be open to what we're trying to achieve.
Going back to your meeting with Bank of England, how do you rate it on the scale of 1 to 10 to get the license?
I'd rather not say about to get a license, because you never know when a new rule comes in. So if I said about comfort, so I went in with an emotional rating of about 3 maybe, just because I hadn't been with the Bank of England before with regards to BABB. So I wasn't sure, although I'd heard lots about what they thought of us, I wasn't sure how they were going to receive us. I left with about 7, thinking, actually, I'm really comfortable now that we now know the hurdles we have to jump over and above the ones that we'd already put in place. But actually, obviously, as you all know, that I'm experienced in working with the regulators, I knew some of those hurdles were there. We just hadn't had the capacity internally to deal with them. And a lot of it is around proposition and technology. And we couldn't answer, and we didn't want to answer some of those key points at that meeting. But they will do a forensic analysis of both our technology, finance, and other areas during this process. So about 7, I'd say.
So let's clarify this. Are we going to apply for banking license in other areas parallel to Bank of England, or we wait and see what happens with Bank of England and later on go to other jurisdictions?
It's all about risk mitigation, this one. So there's two things. One is that there's no need to not apply in parallel because they work differently and they operate in different jurisdictions. If we have the opportunity, we will apply in parallel. That's one thing is for the customer bases. The second is around risk. If one takes longer than the other one, at least we can operate with a banking license under the regulatory framework in at least one of those jurisdictions. So my expectation is that although it might not all be on the same day because they will take slightly different approaches, we will go at them in parallel. In the last 4 weeks, we've made the most progress ever with the banking licenses, with the team, with the MVP, and actually building out some of the technology principles and partnerships that we're looking at. So, my personal confidence is continually growing in that, we'll deliver something that will be really sort of world-changing in the way that we operate, or that the banking system will operate. And I don't know if any of you saw I think it was the guy from Deutsche Bank at one of the conferences where he thinks that current accounts and standard banks they'll disappear within 5 to 20 years. We're a great believer of that. Not banking services, but the way in which accounts operate today will be very different from 5, 10, 15 years' time. And I'm hoping BABB, and I believe BABB will be one of the catalysts for that change.
So, guys, yeah, he's talked about it all there, really, hasn't he? And if you go and that's most frequently asked questions about the banking license. What happens if you don't get one? We've got no reason to believe they're not getting a license. The bank's still working with them. So that's just the naysayers, I think, are trying to bring that down. Or the worried people. There'll be people worried, but you don't need to be worried if you believe in the vision. The app's still coming out towards the end of this. In the roadmap towards the end of the year, November. In the video, you watch a full video, they talk a little bit more about the app than what I showed. But yeah, there's no reason to not have full confidence in BABB obtaining the licenses they're going for. And there's no reason to believe that even if they don't, the app's not coming out because they don't need the license to introduce the app. A lot of people are worried the price isn't really moving, but again, what would you expect when there's nothing really moving within the business? So at the end of the day, if you believe in the project, you'll give the project time. That's about it. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. There'll be more videos coming. Plenty of videos on the way. Stay tuned. Cheeky little like goes a long way, guys. Really appreciate it. We're also on other channels like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just search Love for Crypto and no doubt you'll see us. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it as always. Love you all and love crypto. See you later. Do you feel the